matter of our universe interacts with itself by following determined patterns and rules. These patterns and rules stem from sacred geometries. These symbols are the language of the universe, which are brought into our lives to awaken our soul, to assist in our lessons, and to help us heal. Hello, dearest all. My name is Ladan Universall, and I am so excited that you are here. In this presentation, Who I Am, I aim to bring to you, my dearest brothers and sisters, my findings as deep concepts of who we are and our divine connection as the sovereign beings through decodings of the complex area of symbols as sacred geometries. I ask, dear ones, one thing in return, that you open up all of your channels and receive this divine message with your heart. Geometry is the fundamental of maths, based on lines, dots, circles, points, and shapes. It becomes sacred when we extract knowledge and wisdom from their pockets of information. Sacred geometry forms the basis for every design in the universe, even down to a molecule scale. They represent otherworldly mystical elements of life, the frequency of life, like a continuous dance that presents in its essence in a marriage through sound, color, and numbers. This relationship translates into music and harmony. This is how we experience it. The sacred geometry connects us, the human race, by communicating shapes and depths through the graphical display, which demonstrates the beauty we share within our cultures, traditions, religions, and values that each of us interpret and live in our own way. But what are the spiritual meanings behind these geometric patterns and symbols? This is what I would like to bring to you as a selection of geometrical patterns to help link our body and our spirit with the sacred language of the universe. Sacred geometric patterns exist all around us. They are the perfect shapes and patterns that form the fundamental templates for life in the universe. From the Fibonacci sequence to the golden ratio, create the language of numbers that rule our entire visible and invisible world. Sacred shapes represent the intangible, mystical elements of life. Circular motion is one of the most natural patterns in life. As we explore one of the most simplest, yet one of the most profound symbols, we discover circle. The circle is omnipresent, universal symbol with extensive meaning. Circle represents a cycle, life cycle from birth to death, cycle of growth and development as bodily changes, and cycle of ascension through spiritual awakening. The life experiences that helps one to remember that I am, the one, the all. Circle represents the power of the female, a symbol for a goddess. Without beginning or end, without sides or corners, this geometric shape tells us about perfection, unity, spirituality, and life like no other forms. Pythagoras called the circle monad, the most perfect of creative forms. Without beginning or end, without sides or corners, he associated the circle with the number one and the practice of monotheism. The element of spirit, seen as a superior to the physical elements of fire, air, water, and earth, is commonly represented by a circle. Circle means totality. The circle is a symbol of divine energy. It has a feminine touch that embodies compassion, manifestation, and infinity. There is an openness to it, something that brings peace and comfort when we look at it. This is why we use the ring in marriage as unity. It symbolizes the infinite unity. The symbol is so sacred and perfect that our planet's chakras and our breath cycle is based upon it. The circle is natural grounding, making it earthly and otherworldly all at once. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was God, and the Word was with God. The word here is representing pure vibration, vibration in ratio or harmonic sounds. I want us to picture a vast, unbounded ocean of undifferentiated consciousness, an ocean of pure light. And the power of the one's own yearning to be gave birth to life as we know as existence. Then a pulse, love itself, moves within this infinite field of nothingness, yet allness. The rhythm of allness, oneness, expands in a circular motion. Rays of love spreading outward from this center, taking countless different forms as individual waves rise into existence, each refracting the light of consciousness. This is when the first circle is birthed. We all know and have heard of the flower of life. In many cultures around the world, the flower of life is known as a symbol of energy. The flower is considered to function as a portal to the Akashic records, a universal energy field in which all existing knowledge and events are stored. This sacred symbol represents the divine mathematical order in all life. The flower of life symbolizes divinity, visual expression of life, consciousness, and creation. Every sacred geometry is found within the flower of life. I would like to bring your attention to the sacred geometry that makes up the flower of life, and how life is based upon this, and how our divineness as divine feminine and divine masculine is formed from this sacred geometry. What is prominent here is the interlinking circles. The flower of life consists of overlapping circles that are spaced evenly apart from one another. The pattern formed by the circles create images of perfectly symmetrical flowers. The one becomes the many, all of which also hold within them the essence of the one. Each day of creation can be seen as a circle of sphere. This is the original source, the incomprehensible circle. First, spirit expands its consciousness all around itself from the unknowable point, the incomprehensible center, moving equally in all directions, creating a sphere, the first central circle. In a simple way, the circle shows us the complete story of creation. In the beginning, there was nothing, and then there became consciousness. This is also compared to to the first day of human embryo development. Teaching in life begins from the moment of conception, the very moment when the egg is produced. It begins to receive divine teachings. Our spiritual journey begins during this gestation as number 0. Number 0 here is representing the sacred circle, and it delivers a message of developing one's spiritual aspects that represents the beginning of a spiritual journey. It carries God's force, universal energies, which informs us of the infiniteness and the wholeness that we are. The very first day of our creation, the human creation, as an embryo, is identical with the first circle of the absolute creation. This creation and formation of this first cosmic circle is the exact replicate of the first day of the human egg gestation. This is the day 1 of human embryo development. The center point, the consciousness expanding itself and manifesting itself as a circle. This sacred circle, as the source energy, represents the notions of totality, wholeness, original perfection, the self, the infinite, eternity, timelessness, all cyclic movement. As God is a circle whose center is everywhere and whose circumference is nowhere, by Hermes Trismegistus. Then the reflection and expansion of consciousness continues as the second circle is birthed from the original point. When we acknowledge this circle on its own as source energy, as God or Goddess, the Vesica Pisces represents creation, the womb of the universe. Think of a circle as source energy, adding a second circle. This becomes the spark of creation when the universe is born. The idea is enforced with its similarities to the shape of the female womb, the starting place of birth on a human level. This is the reason why the Vesica Pisces symbol is considered very sacred. On a spiritual level, it represents creation, birth, and joining of spiritual and physical realms. It is enforced again by the fact that it is the starting place of most sacred geometry and, of course, life. Once again, the formation of Vesica Pisces demonstrates the exact replication of day 2 of the human egg gestation. As the two circles become overlap, the duality within unity takes place. This is the connection between the spiritual world and the physical world. It is at this point that the egg is downloaded with universal knowledge, the knowledge of the spiritual realm and the knowledge of the physical realm. This center point between the two circles is what will become our heart center, where God resides. From this moment, we embody the facet of Godness, our God self. It is from this center point that we can tap into the universal knowledge, the Akashic records of what has been, what is, and what will be. After all, we are the embodiment of the source, the Great Spirit, the primordial source. The circle represents the power of female, a symbol for our goddess. Religions that focus on the earth at their center, and many pagan religions see the circle as a symbol of a female. The circle symbolizes Mother Earth. It represents the spirit of feminine energy and the space that is sacred. So the physical Pisces, as the two overlapping circles, is symbolic of the female yoni and the goddess energy, the place of birth, as sacred geometry, as a formation of creation has just demonstrated. Every single human being is first of all created within the divine feminine energy, as circle is the representative of. This action happens 6 times to create the germ of life, as the central sphere rotates around, forming the 6 outer spheres. This is what is called the 6 days of creation. The great adepts describe this process as souls, not physical humans, descending down from higher realms and higher states of consciousness during an inflation into matter. In sacred geometry, straight lines are masculine energy and curved lines, such as circles, are feminine energy. This is also reflected in the construction of our bodies, as you can see from the diagram. If we refer to our previous discussion, we can see that creation so far is emanating the divine feminine energy. As the vesica Pisces takes form, the unification of the two circles creates the condition for lines to become manifested. Lines representing the divine masculine, of course. Each of these sacred geometry, as circle, triangle, and diamond, carry pockets of information that relate to universal law. The presence of both the divine feminine and divine masculine creates the divine child. This is also seen as the Holy Trinity. I'm going to refer to Pythagoras once again, who associated the number 3 with triangles, which has much deep meaning in many groups. Triangles and other 3-part symbols represent deep concept as past, present, and future, mother, father, child, spirit, mind, and the body. As we have explored so far, in the womb, at the beginning of our lives, we were nothing but geometrical forms. All life forms, trees, plants, and animals began as a sphere. The ovum in the human body is also a sphere. For conception to take place, the ovum must be saturated with hundreds of sperm, and a few must come together. Then cells begin to divide, forming of the vesica Pisces. At the exact moment, the reality of all the light of the universe is transmitted into the sacred geometrical form, with further multiplication of another geometrical form when it begins to manifest as tetrahedron. This is called the egg of life. Within this tetrahedron, 8 core cells are created, and these core cells remain within us at the base chakra, unchanged from birth to death. These 8 cells resonate with sound, music, water, sacred geometry, and the elements. These are called our 8 blueprint cells. Our human body contains 8 sacred geometric shapes formed at birth and remaining through our lifetimes. These are the exact sacred geometries that all life is based upon, the mathematics that created the universe, our world, and multi-universes. This is how we know that we are multidimensional beings. These sacred geometries are circle or sphere, vesicopisces, tetrahedron, cube shaped like a square, half moon, octahedron, dodecahedron, and flower of life. In addition to these, the spiral is interwoven throughout these sacred geometrical shapes. These forms interact with each other regularly, and our emotional, mental, physical, and spiritual bodies experience different aspects of our life through the interactions of these sacred geometrical shapes. We are multidimensional beings. The sacred shapes also represent the intangible, mystical elements of life. Why else are we so drawn to them? So, here's a question to you. Does sacred geometry correlate to something deeper within our universal consciousness? Does it reflect or speak to the language of soul? Or are our brains simply hardwired to recognize these patterns in nature? Whatever the reason behind the prevalence of these patterns, one thing is clear: symbols have power. These symbols make up our entire being. Is it time to remember who we are? Who I am. Thank you, dear ones, for joining me in this presentation. Namaste, dear ones.